Hello, Pewter people. Scott Reynolds here with another Pewter Pulse. Let's talk about the Bucs defense this week and how Tampa Bay needs another sack attack this week, just like they had against Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears, in keying that 27-17 win against Chicago in week 2. That type of performance where they had 6 sacks on Justin Fields and forced him into 2 interceptions, one of which was a pick 6 by the goal line by Shaq Barrett. That's the type of effort and production we need to see from this Tampa Bay defensive front that was largely invisible against the Eagles on Monday Night Football. That's right. Jalen Hurts was only pressured 8 times. He was sacked once, but it's because he tripped behind the line of scrimmage. So it goes as a stat in Levante David's stat sheet. He gets a sack there, but it really wasn't a forced sack. It was more on Hurts just tripping. But the Bucs got tripped up last week against the Eagles. Even Vita Vea struggled against Jason Kelce in that Eagles interior offensive line. He had a sack and a half against Justin Fields the week prior. That pec injury might have slowed him down, but Tampa Bay is really going to need Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea. Maybe a Logan Hall sighting would be nice in New Orleans this week. They're going to have opportunities because New Orleans offensive line, well, they're horrible. They've already surrendered 12 sacks in just 3 games. If you look at the fact that Derek Carr's been sacked 11 times, he was injured in last week's game. Even old reliable right tackle Ryan Ramczyk gave up 2 sacks to Rashawn Gary, and the last sack that Gary got knocked Derek Carr out of the game, slammed him hard on the turf there at Lambeau Field, injured that right throwing shoulder. He's probably doubtful for this game. We're probably going to see Jameis Winston at quarterback for the Saints. And we know what happened last time. The Bucs played Jameis Winston. He gifted this team 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter, including a pick 6 by Mike Edwards that allowed Tampa Bay to win in New Orleans in week 2 and get on the road to sweeping the Saints in the 2022 season. But the Saints offensive line, that guy right there, Trevor Penning, might be one of the worst left tackles in the league. He's already allowed 3 sacks in the 2023 season, 2 of which came on the season opener against the Tennessee Titans. He actually played decent against the Packers. But the Bucs are going to have some opportunities. And that's where Shaq Barrett needs to become Shaq Barrett again. And Joe Tryon-Shoyinka has got to reappear after disappearing last week. And Vita Vea, Devin White, Levante David, they need to get after the Saints quarterbacks, whether it ends up being Jameis Winston or if Derek Carr can play. Now, New Orleans, they don't have much of a running game. They've averaged about 93 yards per game on the ground. That ranks about the bottom third of the league. And guess what? They've got Alvin Kamara coming back this week, so they're going to try to establish the run and really limit those pass rushing opportunities for Tampa Bay to pin their ears back in 3rd and long and allow Todd Bowles to get into that exotic blitz package that can not only allow Levante David and Antoine Winfield and Chris Izien and Devin White to come free with sacks, but also when you blitz a team, every time that a running back or a tight end is picking up a blitzer, that's creating one-on-one opportunities up front for your defensive linemen and your edge rushers to work against the offensive line in one-on-one situations. Complicating matters for New Orleans is the fact that Cesar Ruiz, their guard, suffered a concussion last week. He might not play. Andrus Peat came in, didn't play much better. So the only player that's really worth a damn along that offensive line is Ryan Ramczyk, and he's coming off one of his worst games in some time. So there are going to be some opportunities for Tampa Bay. This is a pride check week for the defensive line. Can you get back to that week 2 type performance against the Bears where you were dominant? Can you show up and take on the Superman cape again and help out your offense that's struggling to score points and dictate the terms of field position and creating turnovers and doing the things to play complementary football that's going to help the offense generate some points? If the Saints can run the ball with Alvin Kamara, it makes that proposition much more difficult. The Bucs defensive line, linebackers, secondary gave up a total of 201 yards rushing to the Eagles on Monday night, led by DeAndre Swift's 130 yards. They've got to be able to shut down the run and force the Saints to throw the ball. If they can do that, I think they're going to have a really good chance at moving to 3-1. And more importantly, getting a much needed NFC South win, knocking the Saints off of the unbeaten ranks in the division, and taking that early lead of the division, and on their quest to repeat, or I should say three-peat, as NFC South champions. That can go a long way. The Bucs have the Saints this week. They play the Falcons a couple weeks later after the bye. And then all those NFC South games, they're stacked in December. So why not get off to a good start against your divisional opponents by beating the Saints in New Orleans, and it can get off to an even better start to make that happen by pressuring Jameis Winston or Derek Carr early and often. Stop the run, get after the quarterback, and show that you're that dominant defense that we saw in week 2 against the Bears. I think that's what everybody wants to see in Tampa. We want to see our subscription base grow on Pewter Report TV. So if you like this video, make sure that you follow us on Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like button. Leave us a comment. Love to read them. Make sure you're also following us on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report, as well as visiting pewterreport.com for breaking news, inside scoop, injury reports, and game coverage. And I'll be back soon with another edition of the Pewter Pulse.